Hello. Welcome to Qatar KickAround, the nightly wrap-up and discussion of the day's action in the 2022 World Cup. From the group stage to the final, our team is here, keeping you on top of the world's most watched sporting event. Brought to you by Westwood One Sports.
Howdy-ho. Howdy-ho. And welcome to Qatar KickAround, the first day of the quarterfinals at the 2022 World Cup. Here is our recap and wrap-up of what just happened over in Qatar. Hi, I think I remember my name is Peter, and for those watching the live stream, the weird, gooey gray substance running down my face is, yes, my brain. I can't believe what just took place over the course of the last 5 or 6 hours. It's an unbelievable day. I'm tagging along with the man who can probably explain this better than anybody else because, you know, he knows more than anybody about the World Cup. Andy Swift.
Peter, exhale.
Yes, you too, sir. Don't act like you're not all on a tizzy about it, too. And then, of course, the Dark Lord of all things football. Live from London, Lars Sivertson.
I thought you said grey gooey matter. You were just going to refer to my general appearance, but no, that seemed to be your brain. Yeah, what a day.
What a day.
I think this is one of those. Whenever people go, yeah, but the World Cup, this not the standard of football is higher in the Champions League and all that. Listen, today was a great example. You either get it or you don't. Like in terms of like the standard of play, not always amazing, but the drama is just unparalleled and the tension is incredible. And what a day.
That's right. I mean, that's what we always say. It's not about the standard of play. It's not going to be Champions League. It's not even going to be the Euros. It's going to be cultures coming together to play against each other with their own styles. And sometimes you even get a brawl here and there, apparently.
The Dutch really embracing the CONMEBOL way.
That's right. It was Copa Libertadores after dark.
Incredible Copa Libertadores energy to that game, yeah.
Yeah.
Andy, is this the best World Cup ever?
Oh, come on. Is this the World Cup with the most penalty kick shootouts in a quarterfinal round? We've had 2 out of 2. No. There's been 3 out of 4 before.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
in 86.
All right.
The standard of play, the 06 quarterfinal round was pretty high standards, all top teams. But in terms of drama, at least the first 2 games today, I mean, I can't top the drama at least.
May I bring it back into the conversation what I casually refer to as the DVD test? You know, it does the tournament, if you're compiling a highlights of the tournament
Right.
DVD, is the tournament giving you many fun moments? And by God, the tournament is delivering in that regard, you have to say.
If you just have an old crappy VHS tape of like you do Tor that you just watched over and over.
Wouldn't be enough, you know.
That's true. That's true.
You'd have to have one of those really long ones that was like 4 hours that were more expensive and your parents wouldn't buy them.
And you had to run it, you had to record at really slow speed, and then the quality of the image was really crappy because it wasn't fast enough. Yes. All right. So let me set the table. Let me just set the table here. So if you were busy working today and not being a soccer nerd, we had 2 quarterfinals today. The early game was Brazil and Croatia. It went to penalty kicks. We'll talk about that in a second. And then just finishing like 20 minutes ago was Argentina and the Netherlands. It also went to penalty kicks. And today was top-notch all the way around for a whole host of reasons. Let's first talk about, really, now that we know the result of the Argentina-Netherlands game. Yeah. Where do you want to do a trivia question?
I do, because it's penalty kick shootout related.
Oh, yeah.
So before we talk
Hold
about
on.
okay.
I owe it to Soccer 90 because they are the sponsor of Professor Andy's World Cup Trivia, brought to you by Soccer 90.
I forgot my glasses, so I'm having to read as best I can today. And I was, it was such a crazy day. So this is a 3-parter. You can get partial credit. In the history of World Cups, what nation has participated in the most penalty kick shootouts?
Okay, that's
that
part
gets
1.
You 1 point.
Okay.
And then for an additional 1 point each, name the 2 nations that are tied for having the most penalty kick shootout wins without a loss.
I mean, consecutive wins?
They've had multiple penalty kick shootouts,
and they've won them all.
There's 2 nations that are tied for the most, right?
That's a tough one.
And then the nation that has participated in the most, and they're all 3 different nations, so you can guess all over the map. 1 point for each. All right.
So the 3 that there's a tie for the most that have won all their kickouts,
right?
Or
for the
kickouts. What am I saying?
Shootouts, right? Shootouts. Yeah, for the most without a loss, and then there's one nation that has played in the most penalty kick
okay.
shootouts.
All right. Well, we'll answer Professor Andy's World Cup trivia before the end of the show. Let's start with really, now that we know that Messi is still in the tournament, what now is the biggest story of today, which is Brazil is no longer in the tournament, which holds tight to what we know, Andy, because now the consecutive record is now at what?
It's
first place.
Ever in the history of World Cup. And now the FIFA rankings have only come out since 94, since that tournament. But no nation entering the World Cup as the number 1 ranked team in the world has ever won the World Cup.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, the FIFA rankings are silly, but that is a very interesting stat just because it's gone on for this long.
Right.
It is insane.
And one of very few FIFA ranking based stats I'll allow.
All right, there you go.
Well, if Lars accepts it, then it's valid. Okay, Lars, are you with me that this is 100% Brazil's fault?
Oh, absolutely.
They blew it. Brazil
listen. We will praise Croatia. Will get the praise their due. Croatia will get the praise their due. But also Brazil massively blew this. Come on. They were really, you know what? I thought they were quite casual in a way and then fraught at the same time. There was a lot of bad decision making. They got into like a lot of promising areas, and then instead of playing the right pass, someone tried to dribble when they shouldn't have and ran into a blind alley when they shouldn't have. There was a couple of moments Neymar should have passed, but he shot instead. They had a lot of chances to turn this in their favor. And then in the end, when they thought they'd done it, when Neymar scored an incredible goal, which we all just kind of thought, all right, fair enough, Neymar, you've been a bit pants today, but that is very, very good. That was quite something. Someone who shall remain not nameless, let's just call him Peter, may have suggested in the WhatsApp that was kind of his Pele moment, which I thought
Peter was quickly corrected, though.
Going slightly overboard.
Boy, did that ever set Andy off. I'll explain that later.
I
will make my case.
Point being, as a occasional Neymar skeptic who was not impressed with him in this game, you have to say, fair enough. You're the superstar, you're the franchise guy in this group of players, and he picked the team up on his back and carried it the way Messi has done in that moment, and we all thought it was going to be fine.
In those 5 minutes, yes.
And then it wasn't.
Then it was.
You know, we can talk about Maradona carrying a team for 7 games in a World Cup.
Right.
That's a legacy, but we'll get to that later.
But no, honestly, and then they messed it up by conceding a goal to Bruno Petkovic of all people. And in the dumbest way imaginable. I mean, when the turnover happens, they've got loads of players way the heck up the field, which they don't need to because they're 1-0 up deep into extra time.
Yeah.
This is dumb behavior. And again, I think it feels fitting. I'm sorry, it all kind of comes back to Neymar in a sense because he's the big guy. He's the guy who wants to be the modern Pelé and all this sort of stuff. You gotta, I know you can be a star without being a leader, but he's not a child anymore. Like he's 30, isn't he? He's got to be able to look around. He's got to be able to look around and say, "Way, half my team is way the hell up in Croatia's half now for some reason, and we just have to hang on for a couple. Why is this happening? You know, shout to all these dudes, get back! Why are you over there?
Okay.
So someone needs to take charge here because they just goofed it up so badly for no reason. Sorry, I'll settle down now.
Yeah, no, and this shows you how fine the lines are. Because we can say the same thing about Messi, and the difference is a penalty kick shootout won and a penalty kick shootout lost, and it's the same circumstances. And you're not going to say that about Messi, are you?
You're not. But I would say that the circumstances were different because at least like Holland did something tactical that Argentina couldn't really respond to.
But now you're not giving credit to Croatia for tactically also hanging in the game.
No, not really. No, they just threw people on.
Andy,
So the Brazil debacle today just encapsulates so much of why they haven't won in 24 years. A lot of their history when it comes to defending leads and blowing it in World Cups, which goes back several generations, not just the recent times they haven't won. And what we talked about heading into this tournament about not being tested under these circumstances, we asked, how would Brazil react if they were in this situation? And you said they were lackadaisical at the same time as they were. Well, how did you describe it, Lars? Because it was a good description.
They just didn't have a lot of intent. Like they didn't seem,
but it was casual, but
yeah.
also desperate at the same time.
And
that shows
fraught.
they didn't know how to handle
No,
that situation.
that's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't know how to quicken up the pace a little bit, but stay within their,
Today, for me, it appeared that what was on display was the wily veteran just laying in wait, and they just took advantage of that situation late in the game. And it's exact. I mean, you could see it. You could literally watch it happening in front of you as added time went on, and Brazil got a little bit more oddly cocky and less structured, and all of that good defending they'd been doing just started to kind of become less, and it just was very obvious. Go ahead.
What a profoundly boneheaded time for that behavior to manifest itself. Like you're not 4-0 up against South Korea, lads. You gotta.
And that's kind of my point, Lars, which is. We talk about Croatia being an older team and not having the legs. Well, we were all wrong about them having not enough gas. They clearly had enough gas.
Well, they played smartly for the gas they had.
But that's my point, is they were, I mean, that was some of the tactically smartest football I've ever seen.
So you just said it then. Croatia does deserve some credit.
But
they do for that.
They do for that, but it's different than what happened with the Dutch and the Argentina game.
Okay, yeah.
Are we all in agreement with that?
Yes.
We'll get to that, but the Dutch made changes that changed the momentum.
Yeah.
Here was more a case of Croatia being very canny, and I thought, one specific thing, just to make it a little bit more concrete what we're talking about, there was one moment in the second half, after about an hour, where Brazil tried to turn up the tempo a little bit and tried to exert some pressure on them, and they had a couple of chances. And I think you even wrote in the chat, Andy, that, here we go, or something to this line, they've switched on. And instead of freaking out, instead of panicking, instead of retreating deep into their own box, Croatia just got their foot on the ball. They got possession, and they just passed it around for a couple of minutes.
That's how they rested, exactly.
I know, and they used the sort of sublime sort of skill levels in that midfield and all the experience to just take the sting out of the game and just sort of drag the tempo down and disrupt Brazil's rhythm, not by kicking them or anything, but just by sticking their foot on the ball.
Yeah, and I think, too, with Croatia, what you have with Croatia, because they're players that have individual skill, right? They do. Individually, they're all pretty skillful. They can dribble, they can play in tight spaces, but they can also make something out of a 3-on-6, right? And so if you are defending in a way, but you still want to have opportunities to score, at least to threaten to score and keep the other guys somewhat honest defensively, you need a little bit of that, so that you don't wear yourself completely out, so you can hold guys back and send 3 guys on a 3-on-5 or on a 4-on-6 and still have a chance to win the game. And so I think Croatia, because they're able to do that, gives them a little bit of an advantage as a team without legs. And the second thing is they have a magician playing the 6, the 8, and the 10. One guy is playing all 3 positions. There's a time where he's simply showing the simple pass 8 feet from his goal, and he's doing it 8 feet from the other goal all throughout the game. It's crazy. So
his center half carried the ball.
We're talking about Modric.
Yeah, there's a point in the game, late in the game, where the guy with the mask, I don't know his name off the top of my head.
Guardiola.
Thank you. Carries the ball out for Croatia, and then, of course, as a center back will do, turns it over, and he's out of position, and there is Luka Modric, as you say, sitting back, and he cleans it up, and he plays the ball forward, and Croatia's got the ball again. And it was that level of just tactical awareness and smartness that's what won Croatia this game today. And Brazil just had it right there for the taking and just blew it.
And despite all that, Brazil had it, right? They still had a magic moment from Neymar where they're up 1-0, and now all they have to do is defend the lead for another 10 minutes. Well, I don't remember what it was. Not a lot. And just like, you go back to Brazil, the Pele years, right? 2 generations of players. Pele won 3 World Cups, and that was a magical Brazil. And the problem is, in 1970, they won with a lot of offense, and they were beautiful to watch. They had a terrible defense, and they still won that World Cup. But this is a problem because now Brazil, the fan base, the country, the nation, all expect to win World Cups and demand to win World Cups that way. But now it's getting harder to win that way. So what's happened through history? They went one generation with a bad team, and then the next time they had a really good generation, the 82 team, same thing happened. They needed a result against Italy. They had it with 15 minutes to go, and they went for a third goal instead of just defending, and they ended up losing that World Cup. So now we get that generation not winning a World Cup. We get a bad generation out of the way. Now the next good generation, Brazil wins 2 World Cups in 3 and gets to 3 finals playing defensive. Remember Dunga?
Yes.
He was a 6. He was a destroyer. They played defensive. It was ugly. And they won the 94 World Cup. And what? Brazil was not happy. The country was not happy. They were happy they won a World Cup, but it was like, this is ugly. So now they've been chasing winning a pretty World Cup with beautiful soccer, and it just doesn't work. Sometimes you just got to play ugly and defend a 1-0 lead to win that World Cup. And I think this is part of the reason Brazil is struggling to win that tournament that it's won so many times a certain way. You just can't win that way anymore.
It's also the element of balance that they're lacking, because you'll remember the Dunga years where they were plenty defensive.
Right, exactly.
There was just no fun at all.
But they were criticized at home for winning that way. It's nuts.
Yeah. But no, it's. I just think it's a balance, right? It's possible to cut loose and thwack South Korea when circumstances permit. But you got to have enough savvy in the group to think if you're 1-0 up against what we all know is a very sticky Croatia team, and the only thing you got to do is see it out for 10 minutes, and they're all a little bit tired, and just kill some time. Don't do anything stupid. And then they did
second goal.
Then they did really stupid things. But credit to Croatia for sticking with it, of course, and credit to the coach Latko Dalic for throwing on guys. I mean, the goal, we're praising Modric because he deserves it, and we're flagging up Kovacic and Brozovic, and they were all really good. But the goal comes from Mislav Orsic and Bruno Petkovic, both of whom play in Zagreb. Like, they're still in the Croatian league. These are not superstars, right? Bruno Petkovic, who scores the goal, is a really goofy player because he's really tall and he looks like a typical sort of strong, tall number 9. But when you watch him play really carefully, actually he's quite skillful. But what he doesn't do is throw himself into challenges always the way you kind of want to. He's a really strange player. But he scored anyway. And Mislav Orsic, who I believe has eliminated both Tottenham and I think West Ham as well. He's given West Ham some trouble in European games recently. So he's someone who's familiar to Premier League fans. But he's still at Zagreb. He's a kind of a direct winger. And I was really impressed by the way that goal happens, because if you note on the replay, there's a turnover, but Orsic is really clever because Orsic is one of those left wingers who's really right-footed. So everyone knows what he's going to do. Like, so he starts out on the left and everyone knows he's cutting in, but he made sure he went really wide left to give himself a lot of space to run onto the through ball and then cutting into his right and giving himself some space and some options. But of course, there were no Brazilians there.
Yeah.
Like, why is there no one there? You have one job. You have to defend. It's just really weird behavior all around.
All right.
A huge moment for Dinamo Zagreb, anyway, with both.
Well, speaking of that club, the goalkeeper, Livakovic, was also amazing today. He is a big part of the reason why they were able to survive to get to that point, because Brazil was dumping shots and making attempts, and there were several. I mean, there's probably, 3 very clear opportunities that in most cases you think Brazil scores, and he made some bonkers save.
They're riding the keeper just like in hockey playoffs.
It was all right. So let's get to penalty kicks, because I think this is the thing that I've gotten asked a lot since this game went down via text and messages, which is, why is Neymar not taking the first penalty kick? Because neither one of Brazil's forwards took a penalty kick, and my understanding is that Neymar was listed on the sheet as the last PK taker.
Yeah, probably was. You want your first and your fifth to be your best takers.
Right? But here's the thing. The science, you would think that. But studies show you want your first and your fourth.
Fourth, right. Yeah.
I think that's what you probably meant. But because the point is, with the fifth, sometimes it
doesn't get there.
Sometimes it doesn't get that far. Very often the fourth penalty ends up being the pressure one.
Yeah.
But like Argentina today, and we'll talk about this, you bang that first one in with your best player, and that sets a tone. And for Neymar, because there's some people suggesting he said he wanted to go last, which is kind of a star thing, I think, or is that like I want the acclaim, or is that also an easy way to hide if you're down?
No, I think that's if you want the moment. You think it's going to be the last one, so you want to be the guy.
Yeah, but man, if you want to be the guy, you got to be the step up and take that first one. But it just means you're stupid because you haven't read the books that say that it's actually not.
And also, how often have we gotten to the fifth guy being the one? And then there's another thing I want to point out.
It happened to Ronaldo once as well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you're right, it did. So in club play and Champions League, we're seeing and in the cup games, also in Premier League, guys are rarely missing. I mean, it's like almost it's insanely it's an insanely high percentage of kicks being made now,
in the Premier League
and in Champions League too, I think.
Okay.
But in World Cup, it's kind of the opposite. You're seeing, and so I guess it's fatigue, right? By the time you're
is
in
it
that
fatigue
stage,
and pressure?
Yeah,
because it's the World Cup.
Champions League.
But
but
it's
isn't
the World Cup like a
pressure.
different flavor of ice cream?
Yeah,
you know?
but if you're playing your fourth game in 12 days, that's more fatigue than the second leg of a Champions League match.
Yeah,
right.
It's like a Slurpee brain freeze.
Yeah,
Champions League and Premier League.
Look,
but the World Cup is a Slurpee with alcohol in it.
You're
brain
wearing
freeze.
the flag, right?
Sorry, that just made me laugh.
You're
right. Do you know what a Slurpee is, Lars?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
When you wear the flag of your country, it's got to be more pressure. Than
for sure, it has to be.
Right.
And it was insane. And the Croats were great at penalties today.
Yeah. And
they kept just hitting them straight down the middle, and Allison kept flying in different directions.
And on the order of things, I remember asking a pretty high level coach of a manager about it once, and he said that his thinking at least was that you want your technically best penalty executor, the guy who will score 100 out of 100 in training. You put him up first because it's really important to score your first, but there's actually a little bit less pressure on that one because he knows if he messes up, there's others. So the guy who's the cleanest, you put him up first, and the guy who's the strongest mentally in your whole group, you put him fourth. That's the and then everyone else you just kind of furnish with who wants to do it, basically. But that was his method anyway, a coach I spoke to. And it's just baffling with the Neymar thing because you must know there's a risk it doesn't get to 5. It's so strange to me.
It really is
even
weird.
with the ego of it all. And there's another thing. Again, I wish I could reference exactly.
But hold on, before we move on from that, before we move on to that, let's talk about that for just 1 second, because remember, I feel like we've gotten to a point with Neymar where we don't as talk about the ego thing about him as often as we have. Like, there's been a whole lot of, man, he's really matured and kind of changed his game a little bit. But in the most needy moment that the Brazilians really need him to do the most, something for the team, he ends up saying, I want to go last.
But I think he's gotten marginally better. We don't talk about it as much because it's less, God, what's the word I'm looking for? It's less like extremely obvious in the way it was a few years back. I think he does more work for the team now. I think he does. He is less selfish on the field, though. Saying that, there were several times he should have passed this today when he didn't, and then he did the penalty thing. So yeah, maybe not.
Okay.
But, and again, that's why I'm so disappointed with him, because we do see today, first of all, what an extraordinary talent he is with the goal. He does deserve the status he has just on pure talent, but also just a lack of maturity that's still there at 30, not taking charge, not being the leader that the team needed, and also this weird penalty thing. So it feels very typical of Neymar and the player he is and the player he's become.
And when he scores the goal, it definitely, now in our conversation online at the time, I called it his Pele moment, and Andy appropriately shot me a dirty digital look and told me I was an idiot.
No, I just said, look, wait
said
till he
awful
lifts
things
a
about
trophy,
my parents,
and then maybe
and I was and my point was, I think you took it a little too literally, which is, I was just saying that's like Neymar's entire career was building up to that particular moment where all of this crazy good play that he does finally rescues his team when they need him the most, and now that they've blown it, it's just another nice Neymar goal.
No, I understand now what you're saying. The reason reason I took it literally is because with the Pele analogy
Sure.
in Brazil, they actually
well, that's why I called it Pele instead of Maradona or Ronaldo.
Everything had been leading up to this, and then it was all messed up by Bruno Petkovic of all people, and then he wasn't there for the penalty.
Right.
Sadly, that is the story of Neymar.
All right, so just real quick, because we are running long, because this is such a fun conversation, and all of us are all hyper over what we've watched today. I do, Andy, because I know you're a Croatian fan. I want to, like I said earlier, this is one of the smartest displays of tactics and just outsmarting your opponent I've seen in this sport in a really long time. I'm going to stop saying I just don't think they can do this for another game, right? Because I
know.
Because
I'll keep saying.
Here's the thing. We've talked about this from the beginning, like since before the World Cup ever started. We've all asked the question, because of the weirdness of the timing and the placement in the schedule and all of the fact that nobody really got to try and get together, is this the World Cup where somebody's going to step up and become the non-traditional winner of the tournament? And, why not Croatia at this
we have
point?
3 left: Croatia and Portugal or Morocco. Those are the 3 options that are left.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Now
it's almost certain to happen.
Croatia, Portugal final. Bring it.
I'll take it. But why not Morocco? Come on. No. Let's not get
maybe,
our
maybe.
Let's not get our.
But in fairness to Peter, you've been saying this since we started talking about this tournament. Is this the year we get an underdog win because of all the sketch? Because you're a scheduling nerd, Peter.
Right. I am. A little bit of one.
And I think there's some vindication for you here, sir. With
Tip
Morocco
of the cap to you for noticing this.
With Morocco's being in the quarters.
Wait a second. That Morocco
Croatia
being in the quarters is like a continent, not South America.
Morocco's in the quarters. Croatia's in the semis. Brazil are out. Germany's out. Spain's out. Some goofy things have happened.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, but not atypical of where we would be at this stage. Goofy is Croatia and Portugal or Morocco in the final.
Yeah.
That's goofy. We've had the Dutch play in the finals. We've had Croatia play in the finals.
We might get that. I mean, we're heading to Argentina for chat next, aren't we? And I mean, there's some things to say about that team still. But before we depart the Croatians, good question from Richard on the stream here. Do people refer to this Croatia as golden generation, or is it just Modric carrying a bunch of different guys from different generations? That's a good question.
They're considered the second generation.
The second golden generation?
Yes, because in '98, Sukar, I don't know if you guys remember him.
Their first World Cup.
Yeah. Look, Croatia as a nation has been around for 7 World Cups. They've qualified for 6 of them and reached the semis in 3. Since '98. I mean, they've been an independent country only since '98.
It's a country of 4 million people, you guys.
Lars, the DFW area has at least 7 million people.
Yes, it's half the size of Dallas, and they keep getting
it's
to
nuts.
the...
So only 7 World Cups. They've only been around for the last 7 World Cups, and to do what they've done, and this is their second great generation. Now, Modric is something else. I mean, I'm sorry. That dude is... And we get him one more game.
He is an alien.
But I would also say this is kind of the sort of Indian summer of that great generation. I mean, I would look at the 2018 team and see that was kind of the peak in terms of where the players were in their careers and their club sides and stuff. Now, this team might go on to do better, but this is kind of some kind of old members of that group with a few younger ones coming through. Guardiola, most notably in defense, is looking really good, and the whole no forward situation. But you're getting past that. You're in the semis, man.
Yeah.
It's working. All right, Brazil is out after tying 1-1 at penalties. Croatia wins 4-2. We will take our break. When we come back, if you thought that was nutty, just wait. Argentina and the Netherlands next. This is part 2 of Qatar KickAround, the first day of the quarterfinals at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar.
I have something I'd like to come back at Lars with.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the last 2 World Cups not played in Europe and South America, that's South Africa and the one in South Korea, Japan. The semifinals had 2 former World Cup champions in the semis each. And this one will have 2 former World Cup champions in the semis.
Okay.
So nothing's different.
I'm still going to say that Morocco beating Spain is a surprise.
Yes, for sure. I mean, but
saying.
that's not entirely unexpected. Peter, you were the one that predicted it too, right? Because you
What?
were saying, oh, no, you're predicting Morocco now. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
My point is that surprises are still surprises, even if historically speaking, there are often surprises.
Right.
I think wait, okay.
So
my
Morocco-
brain's already fried enough, Lars. Will you stop it with that crazy talk of
Morocco
yours, sir?
was one in 35 attempts for a country not the host and not from Europe or South Africa to reach the quarters.
Okay. Stop. Let's just get back on track. We have one thing and one thing only to talk about, and it's going to take us 20 minutes just to kind of go through the 48 fouls and 16 yellow cards, which is the Netherlands and Argentina on an almost I still haven't figured out what I was watching in the course of this. It was like just when you thought everything was done and dusted and it was over, it in the course of like that just flipped, and it was absolute insanity. And I don't know if Andy, I'm going to turn to you since you're the trivia expert. Have we had a World Cup quarterfinal flip this way so late in a game like this before?
Probably not a 2 goals to tie it so late, although I want to say in a semifinal, the semifinal in 82, when Germany tied France, they were down 3-1 and got 2 to tie it at the very end of regulation. I mean, at the very end of extra time to send it to PKs. So maybe one other time.
Okay. So I don't even know where to go with this, Lars. Why don't you just start talking about the game and we'll figure out where to go from there, please.
So for a very long time, this was a disappointing game of football on a few levels, I think. Now, the notable exception being Messi's pass for Argentina's first goal was just unbelievable. And
Wizardly.
It's one of those when you freeze it at the moment of him playing the pass, you realize there's no pass on here. Like there are no passing lanes for you. But he does manage to find the right wing back who scores the goal, and it was just another one for the Messi highlight reel. And without wanting to go into it, it's an example of why, for me, the whole sort of Messi v Ronaldo debate is really dumb. Because like you can take away every goal he's ever scored, and Leo Messi would still be one of the best playmakers in history. It just so happens he's also one of the best goal scorers in history. It's like, case closed, Your Honor.
Right.
But anyway, it was a great Leo Messi moment. But aside from that, it was a really disappointing game because Lionel Scaloni, the Argentina coach, sprung a bit of a surprise, I would certainly say here. He reverted to back 3 instead of this whole who's playing out of Otamendi, Romero, and Martinez. He played all of them, all the angry boys at the back, and played wing backs. Because I guess with Di Maria not making it fitness-wise, I might as well just not play wingers, play wing-backs. And it mirrored the Dutch formation, which had been so successful against the US. And the outcome of that sort of 2 similar formations going up against each other was that very little happened in the first half, except for that 1 goal that came out of a crazy good pass by Messi. Aside from that, both teams kind of struggled to create a lot. I think the Dutch had 1 shot in the entire first half, and the Argentinians had like 5, and they weren't great chances, really. So that was just not a great game of football. And I was just kind of, because I'd watched the Louis van Gaal documentary recently, and I was kind of in the tank for Louis here, just being a charming old man. And I wanted his last hurrah to be more meaningful than this. And this was poor. And they came out in the second half, and for a lot of the second half, continued to not do much of anything. I'm just kind of scrolling on the timeline of my stats thing here, and I can see we can get up to the 80th minute. The Dutch had still had 1 shot in the entire game. This is a meek way for a bona fide coaching legend to go out. This is certainly his last game as a coach, almost certainly, and it was just terrible. And then right towards the end, he decides, you know what? If we're gonna go out, we're gonna go out. So having put on Luc de Jong slightly earlier for Daley Blind, he presses the button. He goes with Wout Weghorst, who is a very, very tall man. I think he's 6'6" or something.
Yes, that's what they said here in the United States, is that he was 6'6".
And he is just he's the kind of footballer they don't make anymore. He's 6'6". He's really strong, not particularly skillful, definitely not fast, but he's a very tall striker.
And they put Van Dijk up front too.
Yeah. He's a very tall striker. You kick the ball in his general direction, and chaos ensues more often than not. And Wout Weghorst, the least Dutch of all people, I think, not just footballers, just people in general, proceeds to score 2 goals. The first, a bit of a scrappy one, but the second being a rehearsed free kick routine to tie the game 2-2, because Lionel Messi had scored a penalty that I forgot to tell you about. So it was now 2-2, and it takes us into extra time.
Okay, so that's a fine. No, was it Craigslist? What is those? What are the notes called?
Cliff Notes.
Cliff notes of the game. But what we haven't talked about is how as the game went on, the game was refereed in a very unusual way,
to say the least.
Yes.
To say the least.
So let me just interject. The referee is a gentleman named La Hoz, who is Spanish.
If you watch Champions League or La Liga, you see him all the time.
Yes, Antonio Miguel Mateo La Hoz. He has been dubbed a little bit crudely the Spanish Mike Dean for Premier League fans out there.
You said, the first game he was going to referee, you said this guy likes to inject himself into the game.
La Hoz is gonna La Hoz. And he's not, let me just stress this, he's not a bad referee. Like, he's highly rated by UEFA for a reason. He referees, I think your phrase was he referees a good game. I like that. Very often La Hoz is a good ref. But he is ref who is not afraid of being the center of attention. And he does sometimes do stuff with a certain flair, you know. I don't think we saw it in this game, but you will see him hand out no-look cards. I mean, that's very confusing. Sometimes he'll look. There's a lot of stuff going on with La Hoz.
Okay.
And in this game, it all went a bit CONCACAF. It all went a bit CONMEBOL. It was very Copa Libertadores. A lot of people were angry with each other. A lot of little niggly fouls. I think over the 120 minutes, there were like 48
You're
fouls
really underplaying the lead here, Lars, because I could make an argument that there were at least 2 Argentinian players, one of which being Lionel Messi, shouldn't even been on the field. Lionel Messi literally stops an attacking pass with his hand by swatting it down inside the center circle.
Yeah.
And he doesn't give him a yellow card. And you could literally see Van Dijk look at the referee and go, you're not giving it to him because it's Messi, right?
Yeah, it's Messi.
Okay. And then Messi later does get a yellow for something. So he should have been off at that point. And then Enzo.
That's fair.
All right. Now, Enzo Fernandez, I don't remember if the game was 2-1 or if it was still 2-1. Was it 2-1 at this point? So Enzo Fernandez, for no good reason whatsoever, goes in really hard and slide tackles. Was it Dumfries? I don't remember who it was. He gets a lot of the Dutch player. He does it right in front of the Dutch bench. So there's yellow card number 1.
Yeah.
And then promptly gets up and boots the ball directly into the Dutch bench, which probably unto itself isn't just a yellow card, but probably a red card.
That was Paredes, I think it was. But your description of what happened is totally accurate.
And it wasn't Enzo Fernandez that did that?
I think it was Paredes. And the funny thing about that was Paredes was the player that was brought on to calm things down a bit in midfield.
But did Paredes already have a yellow? Or no? He got a yellow. The thing is, he should have gotten at least 2 yellows for that, because there was a yellow for the foul. So it's Paredes doing both.
Definitely an immediate second yellow for booting the ball at the bench, possibly even a red for that, because it was very intentional. Yes,
absolutely. So I can make an argument that long before we ever even get to Holland or the Dutch trying to recover, they should have been up 2 men in this game. Now, I will also say, as you pointed out, Lars, Mr. Dumfries was the committer of many a foul.
Yes. I think he committed something like 6 fouls in the game without getting a yellow card. I mean, usually you'll get a booking for persistent fouling after like 3, probably 4.
He was eventually shown.
Yes, and Van Dijk pushed Messi over and did get the foul, but did not get a yellow card.
So I'm checking it now. I think Dumfries was technically sent off after the game.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was shown.
He got a yellow immediately after the penalties or around there. But I see here on the stats he's been not jotted down as having received a second yellow after that as well. So in the scrap pursuing, after the final whistle, He was off.
Well, and then there's also when the whole scrum about the ball being kicked into the Dutch bench, did you not see the replay of Van Dijk just absolutely flooring the guy? And he didn't get a card for that. So, it was that whole thing was about as wheels off as we've seen in quite some time.
Yes,
but
there was a lot of stuff going on here.
I guess the larger question is, do the Dutch have a legitimate reason to be done hard by, based on the Messi situation and I guess it's Paredes situation of not being thrown out?
For me, the Paredes one was the one my ears kind of pricked up at, because the Messi handball, it's not a straight red. Yeah, I should have given him a yellow, but, it's Messi, whatever. The Paredes one, it's a very, very clear yellow card on the foul. And then he clearly, with malice, boots the ball straight at the bench.
Yeah, he didn't just kick it. He didn't just, knock it over to the bench. He tried to hit it as hard as he could, and it ended up hitting the back of one of the chairs.
Just kicking it away is a yellow card,
yes.
In terms of, time wasting and stuff. Kicking it at people, with intent.
It was 2-0. I thought it was 2-1. It was 2-0 when that happened. But they eventually came and tied it anyway.
Yeah.
No, the point is, you could argue Paredes should have gone for sure.
All right. So Weghorst comes in and he scores the header, which was which was interesting because he heads it over the center back, the Argentine center back who plays for Man U, who always gets knocked for being short, right?
Yeah.
And so he misses that one, and Weghorst scores. And then Otamendi, for reasons I still don't know, commits a foul at the top of the Argentine box, which gives them an opportunity.
Listen, Otamendi does not need a reason to commit a foul.
Okay, that's a very
Otamendi's going to Otamendi.
Good and fair observation and comment, Lars.
So how do we now feel about Argentina? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, no, I want to finish the whole sequence.
Oh, okay.
Because I was starting to pack my stuff up. I was getting ready to come downtown because I thought, okay, this is over. Nobody's going to hit this. I can't even think the last time I've seen a national team execute a free kick of such simplicity and just odd. I don't even know how to describe somebody describe
It's almost
this.
like they practiced it and they said it's deep in the playbook. If we really, really, really need this, we'll pull it out.
Absolutely.
And it was at the death. It was like
the flea flicker in football.
Right.
It was the weirdest thing. And so if you haven't seen it, instead of blasting the ball or crossing it in, it's, they're probably, Lars, 20 yards out. He just literally passes the ball to Weghorst around the wall with a simple, not even fast, it kind of dribbles into him, and Weghorst takes one touch, turns, and knocks it in.
Lars tweeted out go ahead, Lars.
So the Dutch have 3 people standing next to the Argentine wall. Now, that's not unusual, because very often, just to mess with the goalkeeper, the attacking team will put up a couple of people there and then move just as the free kick is taken, so that sometimes it comes at the goalkeeper slightly unsighted. But instead of doing that, they feign a shot and play a pass to one of those dudes, which is Weghorst. Now, amusingly, I didn't initially spot this. Someone spotted it. About 2 years ago, Weghorst scored almost exact same goal for Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga with the exact same sort of free kick routine. Yeah. So maybe
he sent it to us in the chat, Peter.
I didn't see it. Yeah. All right. Well, and then it's 2-2, and then
I should also interject. I remember, sorry, I didn't give him enough credit for the first goal. It's actually a really good header. That was the one against Martinez. That was a good glancing header. I wrote it off as scruffy on first review, which was unfair of me. It was a very nice glancing header. Sorry, Wout, you're very good.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, we didn't get 120 minutes of Argentina. We got 130 minutes because we got 10 minutes of added time. The 30 minutes was largely not super anything, but then we get the penalty kicks.
I don't know. At the end, Argentina was knocking on the door. I mean, there were a few times when
they hit the post.
They
that's
hit
right.
the post. They had a great keeper save.
I was driving down here, so I probably didn't have as much attention to it as maybe you did, Lars, since you were in your comfy home and your.
We were watching it together, Peter. At the very end, because I was 30 seconds ahead of you.
We were in here.
Yeah.
That's right.
I was cooking a steak because it's Friday night.
Nice. So we get the penalty kicks, and unlike Brazil, their best player steps up and takes the first kick in Lionel Messi and bangs it. Yeah. And then their course is set, and here we go. They end up winning penalty kicks. Martinez saves the first 2, and it looks like it's going to be easy street, and then it gets a little weird at the end because one of the Argentine players misses.
And Enzo Fernandez, misses.
And then or he hits it wide, And then what happened after that? I forgot. I guess we just made Argentina made the last one.
Yeah, and just clearing this up, Dumfries finally got booked before the penalty shootout, and then got booked again after the penalty shootout. So good job, Denzel, for general and sportsmanlike conduct.
So the talk of the PK shootout too is Martinez, right? I mean, he's a little bit of a.
He is a bit of a PK killer. Yeah, check his numbers; they're good.
And he gets in the head of the guys shooting against him, right?
He's very
little head games he plays.
He does. I mean,
okay. So Lars, before we end this particular thing, I just want to ask you.
So just in open play, so not in shootouts. I don't have numbers from shootouts, but in play, he has saved 10 penalties and conceded 23.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty out good. Of 33, he has saved 10, which when you know that the average is sort of 78 to 79%, he's way above average as a penalty killer.
His 2 saves they weren't terrible penalties. They were good saves and good reads on his part.
Particularly the second one.
All right, so Lars, here's my general question about this. Did Argentina play well today?
So I was just thinking, I do think on the whole, again, this was a step in the right direction. Just, I think Scaloni was smart. He changed the formation. That worked out really well. Messi provided the magic, and they sort of largely shut down the Dutch, which is sort of, it's not a performance that makes you go, wow, Argentina have arrived. But again, it's a competent performance to get rid of a potentially dangerous opponent, is how I look at it. And I think if you look at the performance, the tournament as a whole, I think there's a case to be made that Argentina have kind of gotten better from every game, really. Because the first game was just outright bad. And then against Mexico, they were unconvincing, but got the job done. Then I don't know what to make of the Poland game, because again, Poland were an abomination. And then against Australia, they had some really good moments in the second half in particular, but also nearly threw it away. Here, yes, they weren't like, again, you're not gonna put this on the DVD anytime soon. But Messi did his thing with that unbelievable assist and stepped up with a penalty in regular time and then in the PK contest. And it was just, they nearly did mess it up, though. The difference, I would say, between the Croatia thing and Brazil was that Brazil were the architects of their own downfall by being really stupid. Whereas Argentina were not able to respond to the fact that Van Gaal just shoved a bunch of tall men up and just kicked the ball to, and that's just, you know what, it's one of those strategies that's just really hard to find a clear antidote against.
So Argentina was up 2 goals in the 80th minute.
Right.
In the 83rd minute. 2 goals. Brazil was up 1 goal. 2 goals. Yeah. So if we are looking at Argentina as Argentina.
Yeah, but here's my argument. My eyeball test is Brazil had control of that game, right? And instead of just seeing the game out, they were trying to retain possession in Croatia's end of the field, and they just didn't do it smartly. In the other game in Argentina,
they were trying to do it smartly, but
they didn't do it smartly. They did it poorly. In the other game, Argentina was really struggling to figure out how to handle what the Dutch were throwing their way, which was just dropping bombs into the forest of Dutch trees that they had in their box.
Yeah, 2-1 goal comes from a giant man heading home a set piece. 2-2 goal comes from a training ground routine on the set piece.
Yeah. The first goal comes with a 6'6" striker being defended by a 5'8" or a 5'10" center back, right? And it was well done. And that to me is the difference.
Yeah.
So this is a team that we picked to win it all, and they can't defend. I mean, I'm sorry. Okay, the Dutch are tall. You still have to friggin' defend a 2-goal lead to win the World Cup.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. But I just think that's,
I think Andy's disgusted with us.
Van Gaal throwing on a wild card like Weghorst and Argentina not finding a response to that, for me, that's less embarrassing than just throwing away a lead because you're 1-0 up, and you're 1 goal up, and your entire team is on the opposition half almost for no good reason.
No doubt.
That's much more embarrassing.
Okay,
are you making the argument that Argentines almost losing was worse than how Brazil lost?
No, I'm saying maybe Argentina is not that good if they can't defend tall players.
Oh, I agree with that for sure. I don't think
what I'm saying.
I don't think Argentina are very good.
So we just throw an NBA 11 11 out there and we'll beat the Argentines every time?
Apparently start your tall guys and they're in trouble.
Bruno,
I don't
Bruno
know.
Petkovic and Ante Budimir.
Come on.
Here we go.
Jeez.
Gee, what if LeBron had sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So Argentina goes through. They tie after drawing the Netherlands and giving up 2 goals in the most inexplicably bad way at the end of the game to lose their 2-goal lead, do end up winning on penalties 4-3. Wow. All right, let's take our second break, drink some water, calm down, and when we come back, we'll quickly wrap up and preview tomorrow what I'm sure will be equally nutty day next. Here's part 3 of Friday's quarterfinal recap coverage of Qatar KickAround. Lars, I'm trying to what
answer the trivia.
Oh yes. Sorry, I got lost.
Out of the way.
My brain still hurts. It is time now for Professor Andy's World Cup trivia. Brought to you by Soccer 90.
Just want to get it out of the way.
It's the 3-parter thing
before we engage in more riveting discussion.
Yeah, this has been the loudest episode we've done. I mean, that raised my voice very ranty.
Because we just saw 2 crazy games.
We're all hypered out.
We're all like, ah!
We're like a bunch of 8-year-olds in a candy store.
So much passion in World Cup. Oh my God. Okay, this one, it's not an easy trivia question because it's kind of random. So the team that has participated in the most penalty kick shootouts in World Cup history, that's the one part, and then the 2 nations that are tied for having the most
2 nations.
Yeah,
okay.
PK shootout wins without a loss. So there's the one nation with the most, and then there's 2 nations tied for the most wins without a loss.
Okay.
3 different countries. So just guesses. I mean, you can go through your Rolodex.
Would you like to guess the first one, Lars, and I'll guess the second?
I'm trying to think. I would be inclined to say England have been in a bunch, but the thing about it, they keep losing them, and if you lose them, you can only be in 1 per tournament. So I guess that would take
That's a great point, Lars.
That would take down the number a little bit. So let's go Germany for the first one.
That's who I was going to say.
That's just
Germany.
a guess.
Okay, go ahead.
No, is that correct?
No, that's incorrect.
Damn it.
Do you want me to just say who it is?
Yeah,
Argentina has participated in the most penalty kick shootouts. They've won 5 of 6.
5 of 6. Okay, so now the part is who are the 2 teams that have never lost the most penalty kick shootouts, and there's a tie for 2.
Yeah.
Well, Croatia's got to be one of them, right?
Yes, sir.
Croatia. Yes. Okay, good.
Play
for
the
you.
player.
4-0.
Play the player, not the game.
4-0. There you go, Lord. You're getting this trivia concept. Finally, it's always related.
Is the other than France?
No, the other one is Germany. They're also 4-0. And remember that semifinal in '82 I was telling you about? They were down to France 3-1. They score in like the 105th and 108th minute of extra time to tie it, and then they win in PKs.
Okay.
All right. That's your lesson for the day.
Before...
By the way, England, I'm sorry, 1-3 in World Cups, 1-4 in Euros, 2 out of 9. 2-7 all overall, England. Euros, World Cups combined.
Yeah, it's just they're not good at it.
Not good. Yeah.
All right. Before we move on and just quickly preview tomorrow, today, let's, Andy, recap what our predictions for today were previously when we did this yesterday in the preview show.
It was the Brazil-Croatia. Peter said 3-0. Andy said 3-1. By the way, I did say it was going to be tied in the 65th, but I still got it wrong. Lars 2-1 Brazil. So Lars was actually the closest.
I was the closest.
Yes.
You get the gold star for the forehead.
And then for this game, for the Argentina game, Peter, you said 1-0 late goal.
In regulation.
In regulation.
Right.
Lars said 2-1 Argentina and added extra time. And I said it would go to PKs, but Netherlands would win.
Andy gets the you get like a silver star.
Yeah.
I
get a pat on the back,
right.
but keep moving.
We all win here, Lars. There's no losers on Qatar KickAround.
So now heading into tomorrow, do you guys feel good about your picks? I'll tell you what the picks are for tomorrow.
So tomorrow's game's Morocco and Portugal is the early game here in the United States.
Right.
9 o'clock Dallas time. England, France, 1 p.m. Dallas time.
Yeah, so for the Portugal game, Peter has them losing to Morocco 1-0 regulation time. Lars has 2-0 Portugal, and I have it going to PKs, Portugal winning in PKs. Do we feel good about that still? Are you everybody confident with that pick?
Could downgrade it to 1-0 Portugal. My whole galaxy brain take is I would draw at halftime and Portugal to win it in the second half.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Peter, you feel good about your 1-0?
I'm going to stick with it. Yeah, I made my cases. That was not just a wild hair ass pick for Morocco. I'm making a case that there's this is the tournament for something really weird to happen.
like the pick. I'm still sticking with PKs and Portugal wins it. I
Bruno
hope
Fernandes
Morocco
to score. Now that Ronaldo's not there anymore, he's going to,
Yeah.
So, real quickly, Lars, is there anything left about Brazil losing to Croatia on penalties and Argentina beating the Dutch on penalties today that we didn't talk about that you would like to throw in here?
It's Brazil just cannot cope with European opponents and knockouts in the World Cup. This is prime Andy territory, but it's one of those things that.
I think a little bit of this is they're not playing European competition enough. Maybe Brazil
absolutely.
and Argentina both. Those are countries that because look, when you talk about all the other common ball teams, they're actually relative to expectations still doing really well in World Cups over the last 20 years. They still get out of the group stage at a higher rate than the European teams. They still get to the quarterfinals at a higher rate than the European teams relative to all that expectations. But Brazil and Argentina are the two big ones from South America, and they haven't been able to win. Now, Argentina may have something to say about that still, but Brazil, it's been an issue. And so the question was, Lars, right? What were they going to do if they found themselves in a difficult spot against a European team in a knockout game?
Yeah.
And here we are.
Mess up seems to be the answer.
Yeah.
Now, and you can see why there is this drive now from the men in suits to get the CONMEBOL teams invited to the Nations League in Europe, because they would bring huge media attention for UEFA, so it's great for them. Their product becomes more valuable, and the South American teams get to play competitive games against European teams.
Yeah, it just dawned on me: is this part of the argument as to why you do a World Cup every 2 years?
No, that's a dumb argument, and no one should listen to that.
No, this is UEFA's and CONMEBOL's. This is their argument. This is their solution to not doing it every 2 years.
Right.
Because confederations don't want it.
I get that.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if. Because today, while I was thinking about this, one of the conversations we've had is, man, are South American CONMEBOL teams going to struggle because of COVID and UEFA Nations League not been able to schedule games against European nations? But then I remember CONMEBOL was out of the 2018 World Cup before the semifinals, and that was pre-COVID and pre-Nations League.
Yeah. Now, European World Cups, Latin American teams always do poorly. But let's go back to Brazil.
Right.
And that wasn't
in 2014.
2014, Brazil got to the Final Four, but they got thumped 7-1 by Germany. And I think that was a wake-up call. Like, something needs to be done. It's really Brazil and Argentina. They carry the torch for CONMEBOL, always have. Uruguay a long time ago, but now it's really Brazil and Argentina. So there's a little bit of a crisis there. How do we get those two nations, if speaking from CONMEBOL's point of view, to start doing what they used to do once again? Now, having said all that, Argentina is in the semis, and they still have something to say, right? I mean, so we can't. I think this is maybe a
This
conversation.
all feels very weird since we all picked Argentina to win the thing.
Right. Maybe it's a conversation to have closer to the final or once we get on the other side of the final.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
All right, so Morocco, Portugal, real quick. We talked about this in the preview show yesterday, but just any other thoughts or what you're looking forward to for that tomorrow, Lars?
I'm hoping Morocco can keep it tight, keeping competitive. I've tipped Portugal to do it in the end, but I desperately hope I'm wrong about that. I think that would be very fun if we could have Morocco in the semis. Though on the flip side of it, I wouldn't hate it if Portugal drop Ronaldo again and they again look really great without him and they sort of emerge as a real candidate to win the whole thing. I think that would be a great story as well.
Wouldn't you hate it worse, though, if then they stick him, they don't start him and he comes on as a sub and scores the winner?
But you know what? If he does that, then he'll kind of have earned it a little bit,
Sure.
I mean, what gets me with the Ronaldo thing is the sort of, I heard
expectation that I should start and do this.
Yeah, no, the idea that he is now a star whose name outstrips his actual ability by so much is becoming silly. Like I saw someone who was there for the Portugal Switzerland game sort of report back and said, the loudest cheer of the night was when he came on.
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't any of Portugal's goals, and and it was this incredible performance where Portugal showed that there's so much. Well, at least in that game, they were so much more vibrant and fun without him, right? And the second he comes on, you have the whole stadium going, "Oh God, it's Ronaldo!" Yet the noise. And this is from someone who was there. That noise was not coming from the Portuguese fans.
Right.
That was from all the casual fans. Who was like,
Yes, but I watched a YouTube interview, a YouTube video from some guy interviewing Portuguese fans after the game in Portugal, and like their brains are melting because they recognize that the team played better without him, but they're so wedded to him as an icon in their country, they don't know how to deal with it. And it's like, yeah, we won today, but they really, they should be playing. It's weird, isn't it?
But honestly, I think even the coach has been stuck in that mindset for a while because it's taken him a while to drop him, even though it's been clear for a while that they could do with a striker who moves. So it's a really weird place for them to be as a country. But I just think this whole sort of what the people in the stands were watching was a team emerge from his shadow and showed that they're much better without him. Yet the biggest cheer of the night was him to sort of be wheeled on so they can look at the famous man. We're sort of deep into Vegas Elvis territory with this guy.
Well, Morocco winning would be good for the World Cup. So
it would be. It would be pretty fantastic. Okay, 1 p.m. Dallas time, right smack dab in the middle of a Cowboy game. England, France, the best of all these games. And if it could be better than today, I don't know what happens. Maybe fights and they end up with red cards and they end up playing with 7 guys a team or something. I don't know. And it's nothing. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Sorry.
You get the outro music already.
I'm going to give you what you guys predicted and what I predicted so that then we go from there. I predicted France 2-1. Peter predicted England 1-0. Lars predicted France 2-0. So both Lars and I have France. You, Peter, have England.
Is this going to be a low-scoring game?
I've changed my mind a little bit. I think we'll have... Well, I'll keep my predictions there. I'll stand by it. But I think we'll get both teams to score, really. Because the more I look at France, I think if England can get at them in any sense, I'm not sure they can keep them at bay just for the whole... The non-defending Mbappe with the bad defending Theo Hernandez on that one flank just screams problems to me if England can get down that flank in any sense. So I think, and also Dembele doesn't do much defending, so Koundé is all alone on that side.
So are you changing your prediction?
No,
we can change it.
Okay,
it's a lot of dancing, Lars.
Okay, let's go 3-1 France then, because I still think France will win.
Okay, by 2.
Whoa.
Okay, and you have now Portugal 1-0 instead of 2-0.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay.
I still think France will do it. It's just the Mbappe thing.
Could you quickly, without having to dig into it, what's just the general line on the England-France game? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, but I can check it.
Yeah, while he looks, it's not going up against the Cowboy game. The Cowboys play on Sunday, right?
Oh, yeah.
And this
duh.
is tomorrow is Saturday.
What am I doing?
So I
That's
just want
right.
to make sure we weren't
Yes.
confusing.
I'm so like ever since Thanksgiving, my brain and the calendar and what day it is so out of whack. What, Lars?
Oh, I'm just marveling. France are very narrow favorites. But like narrow, like it's close to 50-50.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. I think England is a really good team. I mean, it's not psychological, but it's really how they approach this game.
I'm sticking 1-0 England.
I mean, if Southgate approaches this game the right way, and the players do too, France is there for the having.
The word if is doing some heavy lifting there, my friend.
Sure, but only they will know tomorrow.
It's going to be
forward to it, man.
I don't know how tomorrow could be better than today. Today was just, I mean, it's classic. Today was the kind of day that we will talk about 10 years from now. Oh, you remember the 22 World Cup when that quarterfinal day went down? We'll talk about it this way.
Yeah.
Can I throw something in? I think the football in England-France might be even better than today, because today was high on drama, but the quality of football wasn't great.
That's a good point.
Special moments here and there, but
tomorrow I think we can get. I think that game should be good because, again, France so good going forward. Mbappe is so scary, but England have got some real good stuff as well. And I don't trust France defense. I don't trust anyone defensively in that game. So I think that should be good.
A tactical masterpiece, Napoleon Waterloo. Oh my!
Look, I'm disappointed we're not getting the Brazil-Argentina game that we all wanted as a final, but we're all kind of like, okay, it's going to be a semifinal.
Yeah.
But I think we should all at least, I think the three of us should at least be appreciative of the fact that our original Argentina pick getting to the final and probably winning it is still a potential outcome.
So
should we at least celebrate something about that?
Let's think of, as far as this France-England game goes, I mean, you have to think both teams feel pretty good about then winning the semi, right? Whoever comes out of the other side.
Yes, and I want to remind you guys, before the round of 16 started, I did change my prediction to an Argentina-England final, and Argentina winning.
You changed your prediction, huh?
No, just because
you said you changed your prediction.
Well, I mean, when we got to the round of 16.
Oh, I got you. Understand.
Right. We all went back and said, all right, now who do you think's going to win? And I said, I'm going to stick with Argentina, but I think it's going to be an England-Argentina final.
Fair.
And I'm just seeing now, since you guys asked me to check the betting lines on this, one of the sort of long shots I took ahead of the tournament was a combination of Argentina to win and Mbappe to be top scorer. And that's suddenly looking a
little parlay, right?
Looking a little bit spicy now.
Maybe you can, you put some, okay.
What if in that parlay, Mbappe scores the winning goal against Argentina to become the leading scorer and messes up the parlay?
Yeah, that'd be disappointing.
That would be ironic.
I might cash that out before the final if Argentina gets there. We'll see how we do.
You'll chicken out?
Yeah, probably. I'll take the money and run, as they say.
You can do that, huh? Interesting.
Man, what a fun day. What a great day this has turned out to be. And I'm so glad I got to experience it with you guys. Thanks for doing this. Lars, get some sleep, my friend.
Thanks for doing this. Very therapeutic to hash through it all. It's a bit ranty tonight. Sorry about that, listener. I don't know.
This is good.
I know not everyone likes it. But
ranting is good.
I enjoyed hanging out with you guys, and more drama tomorrow, we hope.
This is the emotion that we've been waiting to have in this World Cup. I felt it was missing a little bit, honestly.
Yes.
This
is the sugar high that is the World Cup that we all love.
Right.
No doubt about it.
So now we're in it. We're in it, Lars.
So now I'm going to edit this and post it as a podcast, and then Andy and I have to turn around and do a live radio show on the ticket at 7 p.m. our time here, Lars. You don't have to do that. Okay?
That sounds like it'll be very late my time.
Yes, it'll be late. Yeah, you don't want to participate in that.
More pertinently, you don't want me to participate at that hour.
You'll have a lot of brown in you at that time.
It's entirely possible there'll be a Friday night brown drink after this.
Yeah, good for you.
Awesome. All right, Lars, we will speak to you tomorrow. Thank you very much, Andy. Thank you, guys, watching the live stream, downloading the podcast. Thanks. We love and adore you. We'll speak to you tomorrow for the second day of amazing quarterfinals of the World Cup. Get stuck in and win your 50s.